Well, Caroline 1 was sitting at her sewing machine one afternoon, and she was stitching away on some clothes for the new baby that she was expecting in the fall. And suddenly, she heard a noise behind her in the room, and she thought it was her husband, Reverend Wesley Pickens, coming into the room. And she said, "Wait just a minute, I'm almost finished." And when he didn't say anything, she turned, and her grandmother was standing beside her. And her grandmother said, "Don't be afraid, Caroline. I just came to tell you that when the baby is born, you will only have 9 days to live. And I just wanted to prepare you for that." And she kind of blinked, and she was stunned, and she sat there for a minute, and then she looked again, and no one was there. And she thought, wow, maybe I fell asleep. Maybe it was my imagination. What just happened? And after a few minutes, though, she was thinking she had 3 little girls playing in the yard, so I better go check on the little girls. So she gets up and goes and checks on her 3 little girls and starts to prepare dinner and does all the things that mothers do, and kept on through the evening, but she kept thinking about it. What happened? What did I experience? It was a strange experience, and it made even stranger by the fact that her grandmother Bickley had died 6 years before. So in the morning she said, "I just have to tell somebody about this." And she called over to Granny Jarvis. Granny Jarvis was a neighbor, and she was going to come and stay, as they called it back then. She was going to come and stay when the baby was born and take care of the other children. So she told Granny the story about how her grandmother had appeared to her, and told her the story about how she was going to die when the baby was born. And Granny Jarvis apparently believed her. She didn't say much. And Caroline said to her, "You are not allowed to tell the story until I give you my permission." And so Granny Jarvis agreed. So Caroline went on through the summer doing motherly things, waiting for the baby. Everything was fine. She started ripping up her own clothes and making clothes for the little girls for school in the fall, and clothes for the baby. And Robert came in one day and he said, "Caroline, you are so extravagant. What are you making girls' clothes out of this expensive material for your dresses? That it's much cheaper to buy material for the girls." And she said, "Oh, Robert, these are just things I won't be needing. So I'm going to make the clothes out of the clothes that I won't need anymore." And being a man, he just said, "Oh, okay, I guess that makes sense." Just didn't question her any further, walked away. So October came, and on October 30th, 1859, little Caroline was born. Dr. Reagan, my great-great-grandfather, attended the birth, and she was actually his niece. And everything went well, although Dr. Reagan had noted that the labor had some difficulty, but he didn't explain that to anyone. Anyway, he visited Caroline, everything was fine. He visited a couple of days, everything was going well. And on about the 8th day, Dr. Reagan says to his wife, Mary Ann, "Caroline was not looking so well yesterday. I think I better go over and check on her again one last time." So he went over to Pickens' home, which was off of Hamburg Mountain Road, not far away. And Caroline saw him, and she asked him to come into her room. And she asked him to bring her husband and to bring Granny Jarvis. So he did. And they stood there, and Caroline asked Granny Jarvis, "Would you please tell the story that I told you about my grandmother?" So Granny Jarvis related the story, and Caroline made a couple of comments along the way. And the men standing there kind of didn't know quite what to say after that. What could you say? So Caroline looked at her husband and smiled and said, "Now you see why I didn't need the winter clothes." And she smiled, she folded her hands, took one breath, and she was gone. And I have a picture of Caroline that her daughter Caroline had, and on the back she wrote, "This is my mother, whom I never knew."